how is the Arkansas General Assembly going to finish? Are they going to finish strong? Let's hope so. I'm very optimistic about it. I think it's been a fantastic session so far, and I think a lot of hard work, grassroots conservatism has really paid off. I mean, it's been a decade in the making, but this has been a huge session, and of course, I've been focused on protecting our families and protecting our kids from the the slope of depravity from the Rainbow Gestapo, Goose Stepping Gay Lobby, and there's been some really, really fine pieces of legislation. We're going to talk about a little bit more of that coming up. But one thing is, we've got national headlines. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders has made national headlines. Now, she was making national headlines because of the LEARNS Act, because of the school choice. What an amazing... there have been people working for school choice much harder. I mean, I've just covered the news on it, but it was never really just it was always a good thing, always wanted it, but there were other issues as well that I've spent more time on, in my years as a journalist. But I mean, there are people who are celebrating right now because of the LEARNS Act. And if you want to check in real quick, we'll check in over at the Arkansas Times, which nobody's ever done yet. This is the Arkansas Times. This is a photo of a protest. School vouchers, it's just politics, is what the headline says. And there's somebody saying that Faubus is back on steroids. They're comparing. They're comparing school vouchers, or some leftists are comparing school vouchers to the Little Rock Nine, the National Guard, and Governor Orville Faubus. These are not serious people anymore, just so you know. These are not adults. We do, thankfully, I think, have more adults who are in positions of power now, and it's their turn to try to start handling this. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how, the stereotypical, this type of stuff, this type of rhetoric plays well on the national scene when the Democrats and the communists essentially have control of every institution. But Christian red states are pushing back and are actually exerting themselves in ways that I think we were too timid and scared to do, even 2 years ago, even 5 years ago. But I think now we realize, wait a second, we've got to stand up and do something about this. Matter of fact, there was no greater example of this, in my opinion, and I reached out to her and told her, State Representative Mary Bentley, when she went to the floor last week to kind of push through this library bill, SB 81, that was designed to protect our kids from pornographic books that sexualize our kids in public libraries and school libraries. And I was kind of upset. There was just lies being put out there on the House floor about what the bill was going to do. Actually, they were saying, I think it was Representative Deanne Vaught who went down to the well, and she said, she basically was trying to say that this wasn't a problem, that these pornographic books were not a problem. And I posted a Facebook post on it because I thought it was just shameful what she was doing as a Republican running cover for the LGBTQ issue that we're all facing right now. And to say that it's not an issue or to downplay it, I mean, I'm a father of somebody that wants to go to the library and utilize the library, and yet you can't because you have to protect your child from these books that are within the reach of children. And it's disgusting, and it is very much a real issue. Hats off to State Representative Stephen Meeks, who came down and talked about his experience in Conway, Arkansas, and how they have pornographic dirty books for kids available to kids there. I got a text from a family member saying the library in Little Rock has terrible books, sexualized, LGBT, again, pro-rainbow. We're going to teach your kids about sex and gay sex at as young of age as we possibly can. Obviously, it's happening in Jonesboro, it's happening in Fayetteville, it's happening all across the state. So to go down to the well and to say it wasn't happening is just madness, in my opinion. But anyway, so yeah, the LEARNS Act, Faubus is back. No, these are not serious people. But anyway, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders making national headlines for signing this piece of legislation. You see this on your screen there. This is from Breitbart News, which is, very much a, let's just call Breitbart News a Republican National Convention mouthpiece. It's a far cry from what it used to be. Nevertheless, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signs law prohibiting transgender restrooms in schools. Way to go, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Quote, the bill signed by Republican governor makes Arkansas the fourth state to place such restrictions at public schools, and it comes as bills in Idaho and Iowa also await their governor's signature. Now, here's where I want you to pay attention, Arkansas. And it might be followed by an even stricter Arkansas bill criminalizing transgender adults using public restrooms that match their gender identity. So this bill that Sarah Sanders signed has to do with has to do with bathrooms inside schools, okay? Inside schools. Matter of fact, she's got a great quote here that I want to make sure that we cover about, or is it from the spokesperson? Yeah, this is Henning, okay? Here it is. Yeah, Alexa Henning, the spokesperson for Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, says the governor has said she will sign laws that focus on protecting and educating our kids, not indoctrinating them, and believes our schools are no place for the radical left's woke agenda. Arkansas isn't going to rewrite the rules of biology just to please a handful of far left advocates. Bravo. Bravo. I mean, it's certainly a new day in Arkansas where the governor, her spokesperson, are saying all the things that all of us, or most of us, a vast majority of us that actually live in Arkansas, what we actually believe. Not a corporate, not necessarily from the corporate lens, but no, we're not gonna do it. But back up to this part, as I just mentioned here. It might be followed by an even stricter Arkansas bill criminalizing transgender adults from using public restrooms that match their gender identity. Now, that bill that they're talking about is this bill. This is SB 270. It is by Senator John Payton. Matter of fact, Senator John Payton will be coming on the program this week, today. So he's coming up here in just a minute. We're going to talk more about this bill, an act to amend the criminal offense of sexual indecency of a child. And again, you see it there. And for other purposes, this would be a bill that would say, hey, look, if you've got a minor in a bathroom and you're gonna go in there, you're a biological male or a biological biological male, want to dress up as a woman, but you want to use the women's restroom, and you've got a minor in the bathroom with you. That's a crime, and that's what this is seeking to address. And if you thought the left hated the last one, you just wait, because it's they're going to have a meltdown over this for sure. But we've got to stand strong, and we've got to get this one passed. It's already out of the Senate. I think it's going to be before the House Judiciary Committee sometime next week after this spring break interim period is over. But speaking of leftist meltdowns, it's not the only one. It's not the only issue. Coming up later in the broadcast, we're going to be talking once again with State Representative Dan Sullivan. Last week, I told you that his bill to end affirmative action in Arkansas as we know it, affirmative action with its racist policies and saying if you are a woman or if you're a particular racial minority that you're going to get hired over somebody else who's equally as qualified, like a white person or an Asian person, that sort of thing. This seeks to end that status quo. Well, the left successfully, through legislative trickery, we showed you the video, State Representative Jeff Wardlaw in the Republican committee last week doing hand signals on camera, getting the bill that was going to be placed on the deferred list, which was a place where you can have more debate. He got the bill tabled last week with this, he was telling some guy, we need to just table it. We need to table it. Well, once you table it, becomes very difficult to do anything. And so I reported that the bill was dead. This affirmative action bill was dead. The mainstream media reported that this affirmative action bill was likely dead. I can report to you today, though, that's not the case. State Representative Justin Gonzalez made a motion to remove it from the tabled part, or, that's been placed on the table, and put it back on the deferred list, and it passed in a voice vote. Hats off to State Representative Dwight Tosh, the chairman of that committee, for doing the right thing and correcting this mistake. It's a big deal, and now this bill has new life. Well, because that bill has new life, there is Central Arkansas Water. So the utility company for Central Arkansas has a Jedi Council. No, a Jedi Council, not the Star Wars Jedi Council, but a JEDI, diversity, equity. I'm sorry, justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. Did you know within Central Arkansas Water Utility they have a Justice, Equity, and Diversity and Inclusion Club? Well, they have found out about this. And they found out about this bill that would essentially end affirmative action with government in terms of government hiring practices. When the government goes to hire an employee, they're not going to be able to consider affirmative action policies the way they currently are, which is a Republican idea. It's been talked about for a very, very long time. Attorney General Tim Griffin has even said, hey, look, this would bring us back in line with constitutional principles. We have the United States Supreme Court that's likely to reverse affirmative action policies when it comes to college admissions. So this is all going on. But just to let you know that we have leftists in this state that are melting down over all of this, I can share with you an email that went out to the employees of Central Arkansas Water. It's up on your screen right now. Central Arkansas Water. That you see this Jedi team here. So in this bill, they claim that Senator Dan Sullivan's legislation to reform affirmative action policies is, you guessed it, white supremacy. Yeah, that's right. In an effort to keep, and I still don't know what this means. I've read it a whole bunch of times. Good morning, CAW. In an effort to keep all CAW employees HIV informed, the Jedi team would like to share information with you regarding SB 71. If you or someone you love is a woman, disabled, black, veteran, Hispanic, or Latinx, I thought we were done with that term. This bill will impact you and your loved ones. This bill that would end affirmative action in Arkansas is now back on the deferred list of the House State Agencies and Governmental Affairs Committee. It will likely be heard very soon after the legislature, or the legislature's back in session. I think they meant to say legislature there. Number one, this bill would criminalize any action by government entities that considers race, gender, ethnicity, and nationality. Yeah, I mean, we don't want people to discriminate. We don't want to discriminate against people based on that criteria. It's really simple. It's very simple. Matter of fact, my generation has been preached this our entire time in school and everything. You don't need to judge a person by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, unless you're applying for a government job. Then we want to consider race and ethnicity and gender. Also, we have the number two is my favorite. Not only does SB 71 promote white supremacy, but it also attacks all currently protected groups, including all women, veterans, and disabled Arkansans. Anyway, this bill is actually this email that you just saw on your screen that went out to Central Arkansas Water Utility Company is causing people to scratch their heads. It's causing conservatives to scratch their heads and say, hang on, wait a second. Why is this is it a quasi, we're going to find out, quasi-governmental? I mean, it certainly exists because it's a public utility. It certainly exists in this, at the very least, in this gray area between public and private entity. And why are they lobbying to kill pieces of legislation? Why are they lobbying their employees to call their state reps and senators to kill this legislation? Why does Central Arkansas Water Utility have a justice and equity and diversity and inclusion team? Because, you want to know why? Because we live in a day and age where people who are left of center and far left have to, and yes, some on the right, but have to see everything, every ounce of their life has to be viewed and seen and critiqued through a political lens. Everything is politics now. Everything must be politicized at all time, and it's just ridiculous. It's sick. It is religion. It is religion. You would think with the amount of dogma that they put out of, I've got to honor this group, I've got to fight for the marginalized, I've got to be not just not racist, but I've got to be anti-racist, I've got to tear down the system. You would think that there's no room for deviation. There's no room for deviation at all. It's very similar to a religion.